my channel. I'm Veronica with nurturingconnectionshomeschool.com, where you can find free printables, planners, encouragement, and resources to help you in your homeschool journey. And today I am going to share a little bit about our morning time resources, the things that we're doing, how we're using them, and all of that. So I'm going to pause here though before I get started to kind of give a little update on the update. I shared a couple of videos back. So that particular video, if you watched it and actually clicked on the description, you may have noticed that that video was recorded back in October. So that was an update of what had happened in the fall. And I held on to that video because we had a ton of stuff going on. And then I went back and forth on, well, should I even share it because we're already in the spring? But I decided to go ahead and share it anyway, just in case it could be of encouragement to someone, and also just to kind of keep our experience, our journey consistent, kind of share those pieces along the way and not have this big hole in the middle there. So I went ahead and put that up there. You may have noticed on there that during that update, I said our morning time was only about 30 minutes. And we were only focusing on the discipleship component. Now things have changed a little bit, but today I'm going to share with you what those changes are. I know that it may seem we are constantly changing things around here, and as much as I would love to keep everything consistent, I've had to learn the art of consistency and flexibility. As I mentioned in that other video, we do have learning differences we're dealing with, neurodivergence and things like that. And I've had to learn to juggle those two pieces. A lot of times our children with special needs or learning differences need and thrive on those consistent routines. And so I try to hold on to that as much as possible. But because we're dealing with appointments and therapies and all sorts of other unpredictable things, I've also had to learn how to be flexible and how to balance that out as much as possible. Sometimes we have to make changes, and those changes are in the best interest of everybody, myself included. And so I'm open to that more and more. I've been open to it more and more throughout the years, and have just kind of learned to really just focus on the most important things and kind of let the details take care of themselves. So a big part of that is why I put together my bucket planner. I still use it constantly in my planning process. And for morning time, it has been especially helpful because it helps us target all the things that I wanted to make sure to cover with my children before they graduate, before they leave our homeschool. So these are our bucket lists, and this is a way that I get to share those those things on our bucket list with the kids and make sure that we're targeting those. So our morning time right now consists of our discipleship, our history, we added that piece back in there, and also art, games, creativity, that kind of thing. So I am currently homeschooling my 3rd grader, my 6th grader, and my 9th grader. And so I have this big span going on right now, elementary, middle school, and high school. And the most important piece to me is that discipleship piece. So I do plan something for discipleship, and I pull in the resources from our bucket planner on that. And then for history, we have actually made a change. So if you watch the original update, I was doing generations with my high schooler and my father's world, countries and cultures with my girls. And so that was working for a bit, but as we were going through, one of the things that kind of jumped out at me was we were having some conversation and we were talking about Bible stories or something that took place in the Old Testament. And the kids kind of looked at me like, we don't know that part. And I'm looking at them like, we covered this. Do you remember that? We covered this. And they didn't remember it. And so I had to take a step back and kind of think about, do I want to keep pushing through, or do I want to plug in those gaps and go a little bit deeper? Maybe we kind of looked at that when they were younger. Maybe they just need a refresher. But something I've learned, so seasoned homeschool mom advice for those of you with little ones: don't stress over homeschool. Don't stress about it. A lot of the stuff that you're covering right now, you're going to cover it again, and you're going to cover it again, and probably 2 or 3, 4 more times before they graduate. And to stress out over it when they're little serves absolutely no purpose. They're going to forget a lot of it anyway, no matter how good it is, no matter how hands-on you make it, they're going to forget some of that stuff. It's just part of the process. And so I look back at our journey and I look back at all the things. I was like, gosh, we have to do this. We have to do this. We have to do American history. He's in second grade. And I'm glad we touched up on it. I'm glad we read a ton of books. My Father's World was so gentle, and I love that we did that. I just wish I hadn't stressed so much, because I could have told myself back then, they're going to do it again in middle school. They're going to do it again in high school. We'll be okay. So if you're there, read a lot of books, read a ton of books, read living books, get outside, take those nature walks, make those play dates and field trip plans, get out there with your kids, enjoy the memories. The time is going to fly by so very quickly. You don't need to stress out about the check boxes. It will come. And if you teach your children how to learn, they will learn all the things they need to learn for whatever God has in store for them in the future. So focus on the skills, focus on the relationships, focus on developing and cultivating a love for learning, a love for reading. Develop those reading, writing, and math skills as much as possible, but enjoy the journey, because you will be doing it again someday. So now that they are older, I am doing it again someday. My someday is here. And I decided to go back to creation, to the Greeks from My Father's World. So we are diving back in, this time a little more in depth because the older ones are older. And we're doing those hands-on activities again. Now we're only doing the history component, the Bible part, and art. So we're not doing the science and everything else in there. We've already done that. We're using other curriculums now, and so we are just diving into that portion. When they were younger, we really didn't do the readings from Streams of Civilizations. We didn't really do the journey through the Bible, and so now we're kind of getting that depth since they're older now. For my high schooler, he's still doing generations. We still absolutely love it. I love the apologetics piece of it. However, we are only doing the part from creation to the Greeks. So we're taking those two books that go from creation to modern times, and we are chopping it up into 4 sections as we follow through the cycle of My Father's World. So don't know if that makes sense, but if you're familiar with My Father's World, you should know what I'm talking about. We're basically just focusing on the ancient world history for this particular year. So let me break that down how I do it. I have it back there. You'll see my little easel there. So I have used this particular form here to list out my loops. If you're not familiar with a loop, basically what you do is you take all the stuff that you want to do and you assign it in a particular box, let's say. And once it goes in that box, or in 2 boxes if you want to cover it twice for that week, then you just hit the first box of activities. And if you take a field trip in the middle there, if you get sick, whatever it is, then the next time you come together, you just hit the next one, and you just loop through all the way through as time allows, whatever your schedule looks like, but it just keeps you moving forward in a way that allows for that flexibility that some of you may also need, like I do. So I have 4 boxes here because we gather for group 4 times a week. 1 day a week, the kids are out of co-op. And then in the other 2 boxes, I listed the books that we'll be reading during this term, and then a little bucket list of activities, field trip ideas, those kinds of things that I wanted to make sure to target this particular term as well. So this is my morning time, group time idea bank, basically. So what's in here? My read aloud bank has, I'll grab it here. This is my cart, so I'll go ahead and show you what's on here as well. This is where I have all my morning stuff, my morning time materials. We are reading through God's Smuggler. This is part of the Great Christian Stories for Children for grades 6 through 8. So we're using this along the way if I want to ask them questions or just kind of get some ideas with the activities at the end. But more than anything, we're just reading aloud through God's Smuggler. Next, we'll be reading The Giant Killer, I'm hoping for. And then we have also been working through an old favorite, which was James Harriet's Treasury for Children. So this is something I read with the older kid. It was part of our Sunlight curriculum, and I just wanted to make sure to share this with my youngest and also to kind of go back and reminisce with my older two. So we're reading through this as well. Some of our goals here at the bottom were to do a service project of some sort. We do that through American Heritage Girls. I put visit an art museum. That's just kind of my reminder area. Now, loop 1, what do we do first? We have Bible books listed on there. So basically that is just memory work recitation. I made these years ago. They are just menus that have different things that we focus on for recitation and memory work. This one has to do with math. This one is going to have like more patriotic songs, speeches, and those types of things. But then we have one with hymns, the Lord's Prayer, the 10 Commandments, and right now we're just focusing on memorizing the Bible books again because we had already done it years ago. They already knew them, and it's kind of splotchy here and there. So we're going back into reviewing the Bible books. We're doing theology, which is this particular resource. It goes over theology of the Christian faith. And it's just short little readings that you read here, usually 1 or 2 pages sometimes. And you'll notice if you look closely, there's some different scriptures that they can then look up. And so I created this printable where they will pick 2 of the scriptures, write them down here, and then copy it here. So they're writing the biblical truth that came from the book at the top. Jesus died in our place. They're picking 2 scriptures that support that biblical truth, and then they have copy work here. So it's basically a copy work exercise, but my goal was that at the end of everything, they would have this collection of scriptures that spoke to the different tenets of the Christian faith. So this is a free printable. You can find it on my website. You just go to Member Freebies, plug in your email address, and you'll have instant access to all my printables there. So this is on there if you are interested in checking it out, but that's what we do twice a week. So it's in loop 1 and loop 2. Then we sing a hymn. So again, we come back to our, no, not that one, this particular menu, and we have our hymns here. What else do we do? And we have a read aloud. So that's when we read God's Smuggler. So we do that first. We take about a 5-minute break. We come back together. Then we dive into My Father's World, Creation to the Greeks. We do all of that, whatever that entails here. And then we do God in the History of Art, which is also part of this curriculum. So it's scheduled out twice a week, and I just plug that in here as well. And then what I'm doing that's a little bit different is I've added on a unit that I wanted to do with all 3 kids. My son is doing health for high school, and so I thought it would kind of work out nicely. We are doing the good and the beautifuls, health, and the human mind. So it's just a unit study. There's just 12 lessons. So right now I'm scheduling it out twice a week on loops 1 and 2. And we're just working through it slowly. It's kind of an add-on supplement to something I wanted to learn about with the kids. But it's going to add to that health piece that my son's already doing at the high school level. So I thought that was great. And then we could take a walk on that day. So that is loop 1. Loop 2, we do Bible books again. We do, oh, sorry, skip this part. We do World Watch News, then Bible books, theology, another hymn, and our read aloud. Then we do My Father's World, Creation to the Greeks, God in the History of Art, and then we do the Good and the Beautiful, Health, and the Mental Mind again. So loops 1 and 2 look almost the same. We just kind of add on that World Watch News because we have a little bit more time on that particular day. The next loop, it goes a little bit less on here. So we have a little bit less on here. We do our read aloud still, and then I put book activities. So there's something unique that we'll do with that book. Usually that's a reader's notebook entry. We have something like a commonplace book, if you will, where the kids will put a drawing in, they'll write some reflections on what we're learning, or they'll copy a quote, whatever they choose to do in their reader's notebook. But I've also left that open for any other type of activity that I want to do that ties in with the books. So in the Generations curriculum, it does have some ideas at the end of the book. I mean, at the end of the workbook section for that particular book. I'm trying to look for it right now as I talk. Hold on. So after it has the comprehension exam, it has some essay assignments, and then it has life integration projects. I don't know if you can see that. So I just kind of pick and choose some things here, and that's something I can plug in there, but I already have the spot there whenever I want to come up with something. If it's a recipe or if it's a map activity, whatever thing I want to do, that's when it gets done. Then we do My Father's World, Creation to the Greeks again. We have a timeline song that we recite. So that was taken from Classical Conversations. We did that our very first year, years back, 12 years ago. And I still want the kids to learn that song, memorize that song, just so they have that timeline in their heads of all the events we're learning about. And then on that loop day, which is usually on a Thursday, we either do art with grandma or we have American Heritage Girls. So either one of those happens, but that's pretty much our group time there. Now, the last day, I have Friday on here. Now, Friday's loop, very, very minimal that what we do on that day, because I want to make time for some of the other things that we feel are important, like games and nature walks and those types of things. So on Fridays, we just do our read aloud. We do our My Father's World, Creation of the Greeks, our timeline song, and we have a game or experience. So on that day, we play games together sometimes, or we do an experience of some sort, whether that's a field trip, a bigger activity, hosting something, going for a nature walk, hiking, that kind of thing. So I leave that open because I want to make time for those things as well. Now, let me pause here for just a bit. Sometimes people have loops tied to days, so I went ahead and tied mine to days based on what we have going on those days. So I do have Monday's loop, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and I try to kind of stick to that sequence. Now, it's still a loop in the sense that, you know, we're just going to pick up where we left off in our book. I just put these little flags in there, and we just keep going. So it's not read pages 5 to 20. It's read as much as you want on that day, about 10, 15 minutes, and we're good to go. But then I just loop through to the next thing. However, in the past we've done loops where we just have numbers, loops 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatever happens, we just do the next thing and the next thing. So a couple of ways of doing that. I just wanted to clarify that. So that is what we do during our morning time. This generally takes about an hour now. So I know in the last update I said we had knocked it down to 30 minutes. It used to be an hour and a half, so now we kind of have fallen somewhere in the middle there. It's about an hour. I try to keep us on track. If we don't get through everything, that's okay. I'm learning, like I said, to let go of some of those things. The important thing is that we're learning together, we're growing together, we're building our relationships, and we are smarter than we were before. So that's what it looks like. Anyway, if you do your morning time, share with me at the bottom. I'd love to hear how your morning time is going. What are some of your favorite resources during that time? And do you have any questions for me? Is there anything else I can answer and put together in a video here for you? Let me know. And if you found this helpful, please give me a thumbs up on your way out. It's an easy way to support my channel and help me get the word out as well. Hopefully this is an encouragement to you, and I hope it provides a little bit of inspiration along the way. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you here next time.